I'm Margaret Howell for Infowars.com. There's a new study coming out by the Center for Immigration Studies, which Jessica Vaughn, she's the policy director for that center. She asserts that nearly 1 million people are in the U.S. and they've been given orders to deport, to leave immediately. They're still staying. She lays out some reasons why. Let me get into these numbers for you. She says a small fraction of the immigrants that are being detained by ICE, they're actually on an ordered removal list. She's citing 925,193 aliens are still here despite those deportation orders. And she lists some reasons why. She says that the U.S. officials, they feel constrained on how to release them. They feel pressure from the feds to go ahead and release them. Then you have sanctuary cities that thwart deportations and other issues that the host country simply won't take the citizen back, so they're forced to stay. Now, the troubling aspect of her report is that she details 170,000 people that are here illegally, that are actually convicts. They've been convicted of crimes, but they're still walking around, and little is being done to deport, to enforce those deportation orders. I want to take you to one case in particular that's breaking in Oregon. One of these 170,000 convicted that have not yet been deported is Bonifacio Oseguera Gonzalez. And this man has been accused of shooting 4 people in Oregon, killing 3 of the people that he actually shot. This happened on a blueberry farm outside of Woodburn, Oregon. And ICE put a written statement out of the accused, of Mr. Oseguera. This is what they had to say about the situation that he's in. And you're not even going to believe this. He was deported 5 times. This is his 6th entry into the U.S., where he's killed 3 people and seriously injured a 4th. They say after conducting a comprehensive review of Mr. Oseguera's immigration and criminal history, U.S. Immigration and Customs, to that end, the agency filed a notice of action with the Marion County Jail, asking to be alerted if or when Mr. Oseguera is slated for release so the agency can take custody or pursue further administrative enforcement action. Relevant databases indicate Mr. Oseguera has no significant prior criminal convictions. However, he has been repatriated to Mexico 6 times since 2003, most recently in 2013. Let me see if I get this straight. He was deported 6 times, gained successful reentry, and then subsequently killed 3 people. That's what we're talking about here. This was the official statement that they were unsuccessfully able to repatriate him back to his host country for whatever reason. And if that doesn't spell out a system that is indescribably broken, I don't know what does that specific case. Now, the final orders for removal, they're largely ignored by nearly 1 million out of a system that our federal government said is working just fine. And these numbers that Jessica Vaughn looked at for the Center for Immigration Studies, these numbers, they only indicate roughly 10% of the people that she indicates technically should have a deportation order. So we're just talking about 10% of that group, and a very defunct system that seems dysfunctional without any real enforcement aspect in place. I want to take you to a story now coming out of Memphis regarding the TSA. You know, those agents that have been deputized to act basically like police officers. What they did to one young woman in their care is absolutely despicable to me. It makes me so sick. I'm trying hard not to use profanity on the air anymore because I told my mom I wouldn't. We're talking about a case with a young lady. She's 19 years old. She's disabled. She's blind in one eye, partially paralyzed and deaf. And she was traveling through the Memphis airport. I'm speaking of a young woman named Hannah Cohen. She was going to St. Jude Hospital in Chattanooga, the to and from trip, Chattanooga, Memphis, to treat her brain tumor. She goes through the TSA checkpoint, sets off the metal detector alarm, to which she freaks out, understandably. Her mother said that she didn't know what was going on, gets confused very easily, and then she tries to run. She resists the TSA arrest of her, if you will, to which a TSA officer then grabs her, slams her head to the ground to the point where she's bleeding. I encourage you to go and look at these photographs online for a more in-depth report of Hannah's story. Her skull, you can actually see blood dripping from her head. It was all over the floor, bashing her head that had a brain tumor in it that she was getting treated for, bashing it on the floor. Hannah later gets arrested, taken downtown to the Memphis jail and booked. Instead of spending the night celebrating what should have been her last treatment, she spends it behind bars. Now, the charges against Hannah were ultimately dropped in this case. Oh, that was really big of them. But the TSA, they released a statement regarding people like Hannah. Just in case you didn't get the heads up, here it is. The TSA says that passengers must give a heads up if they have special needs. Well, okay, we'll just all be sure and remember to do that so that your head's not bashed into the ground the next time you're not sure what to do, you get disoriented, or you freak out. Now, this story, it's reminiscent of the TSA expansion of authority regarding checkpoints. We've covered here on InfoWars the Ataturk airport bombing in Turkey and what this means for you and I at home. Now, we know the governments have this big push that they're going to start stepping up checkpoints, doing random searches, and we've covered this extensively this past week. But these TSA checkpoints, of course, they're for your safety. Everything that they're doing is just for your safety and security. It's not to in any way, abuse their power or authority, take away your basic rights. Don't worry, it's all just for you. But here's what they're going to try to do. So they're going to set up these checkpoints in the parking lot, randomly screening people as they step into the airport, stop and frisk, if you will. And it's all in the name of catching people before they enter the security checkpoint of TSA, because we know that the bombers were actually on the other side of the glass in Turkey. So they're going to try to prohibit that from happening, stepping out into the parking lot. Now, this isn't the first time that they've actually tried to do this measure. In 2009, we found a clip of this in our InfoWars encyclopedia videos, if you will. We found a clip of this 2009 Tennessee TSA, a brief clip for you, where the TSA was taking it to the streets, randomly stopping people and searching cars. Take a look.
You're probably used to seeing these signature blue uniforms at the airport.
See something, do something.
But now TSA agents are on the interstates fighting terrorism with visible intermodal prevention and response, or VIPER operations.
Where is a terrorist most apt to be found? Not these days on an airplane, more likely on the interstate.
Tuesday, Tennessee was the first to do this simultaneously at 5 weigh stations and 2 bus stations statewide.
The TSA using their power for good, all in the name of just keeping us safe. I'm Margaret Howell reporting for Infowars.com.
FEMA is talking about food prices going up 395% potentially. We got the Pentagon report predicting a meltdown coming around 2017. We've got Kissinger talking about a food as a weapon and using it. We've got Soros talking about EU collapse. Trump talking about bubbles. Ron Paul, most of the grain in many countries being turned into ethanol for cars when we got plenty of oil. Venezuela food prices are up to $150 for 1 dozen eggs. Brazil is in financial crisis. The UN's announcing that it basically runs our southern border. This is insane. All of these policies being set by the globalists. Governments and elites are stockpiling food and weapons and building bunkers. I know I personally am getting prepared. The warning signs are insane, and that's why we're offering some of the biggest specials ever at InfoWarsStore.com right through the July 4th special weekend of 20 to 40% off. The biggest wide spectrum sale ever on preparedness items, 20 to 40% at InfoWarsStore.com.